Welcome friends. Topic of today's video is posterior triangle of neck. To understand the posterior triangle of the neck, let us see in this diagram. This diagram is the lateral view of the neck showing the mandible, the mastoid process, the superior nuchal line, the acromion process, the clavicle and the manubrium sterni. This is the hyoid bone. Here we can see a muscle which is extending from the lateral part of the superior nuchal line to the acromion process and lateral part of the clavicle. This muscle is the trapezius muscle. We can see another muscle which is obliquely placed in the side of the neck, which is extending from the mastoid process, medial part of the superior nuchal line and getting attached by two heads. One head is getting attached to the manubrium sterni and another head is getting attached to the clavicle. This muscle is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Now we will look on to the borders of the posterior triangle of the neck. The anterior border of the posterior triangle of the neck is formed by the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid and the posterior border of the posterior triangle is formed by the anterior border of the trapezius muscle. Okay, and the base of this triangle is formed by the middle 1/3 of the clavicle. The apex of this triangle is formed by the superior nuchal line where the two borders, anterior border and the posterior border meet. So this triangle here is the posterior triangle of the neck. This posterior triangle of the neck is divided into two triangles by a muscle which is the inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle. The omohyoid muscle extends from the hyoid bone. This is the superior belly of the omohyoid and this is the inferior belly of the omohyoid, which is getting attached to the scapula. This inferior belly of the omohyoid is dividing the whole posterior triangle of the neck into two triangles. This upper triangle above the omohyoid muscle is known as occipital triangle. Okay? And the lower triangle below the inferior belly of the omohyoid is known as subclavian triangle or supraclavicular triangle, as it is present above the clavicle. The occipital triangle is known as occipital triangle due to the presence of the occipital artery in the occipital triangle, and the subclavian triangle is known as subclavian triangle because the third part of subclavian artery lies in the subclavian triangle. Now the roof of the posterior triangle. The roof of the posterior triangle is formed by the overlying skin. Below the skin lies the superficial fascia along with some contents. Below the superficial fascia lies the investing layer of deep cervical fascia which extends from the sternocleidomastoid muscle to the trapezius muscle. So if this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle and this is the trapezius muscle, the investing layer of deep cervical fascia extending between these two muscles, this part will form the roof of the posterior triangle of the neck. Now we will see what are the structures present in the superficial fascia of the posterior triangle of neck. There are one muscle, 4 cutaneous nerves and one vein. The muscle which lies in the superficial fascia of the posterior triangle of neck is the platysma muscle, which extends from the mandible to the clavicle here and is one of the examples of the subcutaneous muscle of the body, which are together remnants of the panniculus carnosus. Next are the cutaneous nerves. All the 4 cutaneous nerves arises from the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle at a point at the junction of the upper 1/3 and the middle one-third of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So the first cutaneous nerve is the lesser occipital nerve, which arises from this point, goes upwards towards the apex of this posterior triangle. So this was the lesser occipital nerve. The second cutaneous nerve is the great auricular nerve, which also arises from this point, goes upwards to supply the region of angle of mandible. This is the great auricular nerve. The third cutaneous nerve is the anterior cutaneous nerve of neck, which goes forwards and divides into an ascending branch and a descending branch. So this was the anterior cutaneous nerve of neck. The fourth cutaneous nerve is the supraclavicular nerves, which divide into three branches: the medial, the intermediate, and the lateral supraclavicular nerves. And it first lies below the deep fascia and just above the level of the clavicle, will pierce the deep fascia to come into the superficial fascia. So these were the lateral, intermediate, and the medial supraclavicular nerves. Now the vein, that is the external jugular vein, which extends from the angle of the mandible by joining of two veins, the posterior division of the retromandibular vein and the posterior auricular vein, to form the external jugular vein, which will lie in the superficial fascia of the posterior triangle of the neck and just 2.5 cm above the clavicle. At this point, we pierce the deep fascia to drill into the subclavian vein. So this was the external jugular vein. And this vein is used to see the jugular venous pressure, which directly indicates the pressure of the right atrium. Now the floor of the posterior triangle of the neck. So let us draw this triangle separately here. So this is the posterior border, this is the anterior border, and this is the base of the posterior triangle. To see the floor of the lower part of the posterior triangle, we have to remove the clavicle. So by removing the clavicle, we will see the first rib here, and below the first rib will be the second rib. So the floor of the posterior triangle is formed by some muscles. The first muscle is the semi-spinalis capitis muscle here, near the apex, semi-spinalis capitis muscle. Okay. The second muscle here is the splenius capitis muscle. Okay. Third muscle is the levator scapulae muscle. Another muscle which is extending here to the first rib is the scalenus anterior muscle. Another muscle which is extending to the first rib is the scalenus medius muscle. The last muscle is the scalenus posterior muscle, which is extending to the second rib. So this was the scalenus posterior muscle. The scalenus anterior muscle is getting attached to a tubercle, which is known as scalene tubercle, present in the first rib. These 6 muscles is forming the floor of the posterior triangle of the neck, and this floor of the posterior triangle is covered by a facial carpet or a fascia, which is a part of the deep cervical fascia, that is the prevertebral layer of the deep cervical fascia. Okay, so remember, the prevertebral layer of the deep cervical fascia is covering the floor of the posterior triangle, and the investing layer of deep cervical fascia is forming the roof of this posterior triangle of the neck. Now the contents of the posterior triangle. Now we will make 2 diagrams of the posterior triangle, one for the nerves and another for the vessels and the lymph node. So this is the anterior border, and this was the posterior border of the posterior triangle, and this was the base, and this is the apex of the posterior triangle of the neck. As we have already studied, from the junction of the upper 1/3 and the middle 1/3 of the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, 4 cutaneous nerves were emerging. The first cutaneous nerve was the lesser occipital nerve. The second was the great auricular nerve. The third was the anterior cutaneous nerve of the neck. And the fourth was the supraclavicular nerve, which was dividing into 3 branches: the lateral, intermediate, and the medial supraclavicular nerves. Another nerve which arises just above this point, going downwards and backwards, is the spinal accessory nerve. Which is the 11th cranial nerve. This spinal accessory nerve supplies 2 muscles, that is the sternocleidomastoid muscle and the trapezius muscle. The spinal accessory nerve is accompanied by 2 nerves, that is the C3 and the C4 nerves, which will supply the levator scapulae muscle in the floor of the posterior triangle and the proprioceptive fibers to the trapezius muscle. When the spinal accessory nerve comes out from the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, this nerve is hooked up by another nerve, that is the lesser occipital nerve. So this point from which the 4 cutaneous nerve, that is the lesser occipital, great auricular, anterior cutaneous, supraclavicular nerves, and the spinal accessory nerve arises, this point is known as nerve point of the posterior triangle of the neck. So this nerve point is located at the junction of the upper 1/3 and the middle 1/3 of the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. The importance of this nerve point is that in cervical plexus block, the anesthetic agent is injected into this nerve point. Now the other nerves, in this lower part of the posterior triangle lies the cervical part of the brachial plexus, that is the upper trunk, middle trunk, and the lower trunk. Also visible is the C5 and C6 roots of the upper trunk. The branches of the cervical part of the brachial plexus are also the contents of the posterior triangle. That is the dorsal scapular nerve, which arises from the C5 root. So this was the dorsal scapular nerve, or the nerve to rhomboideus. The suprascapular nerve, nerve to subclavius, and arises from the root of the C5, C6 and C7 is the long thoracic nerve, or nerve to serratus anterior. So this was the long thoracic nerve, or the nerve to serratus anterior. In relation with the upper triangle, we can see the Erb's point, from which 6 nerves emerges. So this was the Erb's point. Now, if we correlate the cervical part of the brachial plexus with this floor of the posterior triangle. These trunks of the brachial plexus arises from between the scalenus anterior muscle and the scalenus medius muscle. So from this gap here, the three trunks of the brachial plexus arises. So in this diagram, if you place the inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle here, we will be able to see what are the different contents of the occipital triangle and the subclavian triangle. So the nerve point along with its four cutaneous nerve and the spinous nerve along with C3 and C4 are content of the occipital triangle, and the cervical part of the brachial plexus along with its branches are present in the subclavian triangle. Now the vessels and the lymph nodes. Along the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle lies various deep cervical lymph nodes. These deep cervical lymph nodes present in the supraclavicular triangle are known as supraclavicular nodes. And the deep cervical lymph node present in the apex of the posterior triangle are known as occipital lymph nodes. Some deep cervical lymph nodes are also present along the course of the spinal accessory nerve. So these were the groups of the deep cervical node present in the posterior triangle. Now the vessels. Near the apex of the posterior triangle lies the occipital artery. So this was the occipital artery, which is a branch of the external carotid artery. In the lower part or the supraclavicular triangle, we will see two big vessels, that is the subclavian artery and the subclavian vein. So this was the subclavian vessels. So now we will see how the subclavian vessels enter into this posterior triangle. If we see in this diagram, the subclavian artery arises between the scalenus anterior and the scalenus medius muscle along with the brachial plexus. So here lies the subclavian artery to become the third part of the subclavian artery. So in the posterior triangle, we will be seeing the third part of the subclavian artery, and the subclavian vein arises in front of the scalenus anterior muscle from here. The next vein is the terminal part of external jugular vein, which was piercing the deep fascia and draining into the subclavian vein. So this was the external jugular vein. Another vein which is draining into this external jugular vein is the transverse cervical vein. So this is the transverse cervical vein. Now the arteries. The first artery was the subclavian artery. The second artery is the transverse cervical artery, which is getting divided into a superficial and a deep branch. This was the transverse cervical artery. This transverse cervical artery is a branch from the thyrocervical trunk, which was the branch of the first part of the subclavian artery. Another branch of this thyrocervical trunk is present in the posterior triangle, which is known as the suprascapular artery. So this was the suprascapular artery. So now, if you draw the inferior belly of the omohyoid here, we can see that the occipital artery, the branches of the transverse cervical, that is the superficial and the deep branch. Also the transverse cervical vein is present in the occipital triangle. And the proximal part of the transverse cervical artery, the termination of the transverse cervical vein into the external jugular vein, also the external jugular vein and the subclavian vessels along with the suprascapular artery is present in the subclavian triangle. So now we can see why this upper triangle was known as the occipital triangle, because of the presence of the occipital artery, and why this lower triangle below the inferior belly of omoid was known as subclavian triangle, due to the presence of the subclavian artery. Now the third aspect, if we look carefully into this triangle, the part of the triangle above the spinal nerve here has very less important structures, that is only the lesser occipital nerve, and the part of the posterior triangle below the spinal nerve has lots of nerves. So this part, that is the upper part above the spinal nerve, is known as care-free area, and the part below the spinal nerve is known as careful area. So any surgery in this lower careful area is very dangerous, and we have to be very careful in dissecting this lower part. Also, this spinal nerve is plastered to the roof of the posterior triangle of the neck, that is, it is present just below the investing layer of deep cervical fascia here. And the other neurovascular bundles are present near the floor of the posterior triangle of the neck. So the spinal nerve is more superficial as compared to the other neurovascular structures in the posterior triangle of the neck. Also, the left side supraclavicular lymph nodes are known as Virchow's node or Scalene nodes. These Virchow or the Scalene nodes or the left supraclavicular nodes are the site of metastasis of distant abdominal organs like the testes, the stomach. Okay, so biopsy of these Scalene lymph nodes will lead to early diagnosis of carcinoma in these abdominal organs. The third is the anatomical basis of air embolism during injury of external jugular vein. So this was the external jugular vein present in the superficial fascia, which was piercing the deep fascia or the investing layer of deep cervical fascia and then draining into the subclavian vein. Okay? At this level of piercing, the wall or the margins of the external jugular vein are tightly adherent to the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. Okay? Which will prevent the collapse of this vein. So any cut in this vein during any injury in this area, like a stab in the posterior triangle, will prevent the collapse of this vein. So this cut will remain open and air will get inside this vein. That will lead to a condition known as air embolism. Okay, so to prevent this air embolism, we have to first cut these margins of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia so that the walls of the external jugular vein can become free and can get collapsed to close this cut in the external jugular vein. So this completes the posterior triangle of the neck. Thank you very much.